How many Neil Diamond fans do we have? Oh, I love it. I love it. Thanks to thanks to my sister, I'm a Neil Diamond fan. I hear his music, and I just cry. So heartfelt, right? Just so heartfelt. How many of y'all know that that song was actually inspired by E.T.? Yes, it was inspired by E.T. How many of you know that the movie company sued him for that because of that song? Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? So he and his friend Burke Bacharach, you haven't heard that name in a while, were in the movie theater. They saw that film, and it's from the perspective of Elliot, right? And how Elliot turns on his heart light because he's going to miss. E.T. turns on his heart light because he's going to miss Elliot, which is such a beautiful metaphor, right? Hence the title, Turn On Your Heart Light. And the company felt like it was copyright infringement. He was stealing from them, basically. Which the sad thing is, like, as y'all know, art only inspires art, right? That's what it's meant to do, just like that song inspires us. So good for him. He settled out of court and gave them $25,000. So, yeah. So thank you, Keith and Mark, for singing this. I think it was on Monday. We were texting, and I was like, and then I was like, turn on your heart light. So thank you, guys. It's such a beautiful song, and the title of the sermon and the practice I want to share with y'all today. So as y'all know, we're continuing our journey in Eric Butterworth's Discover the Power Within You. And I mentioned with y'all that the first time I read it was 2007. It was my crash course on unity because I had been raised in the Catholic Church. And it was the first time that I understood Jesus as the historical person and the spiritual person. I understood that Jesus is not someone to just simply worship. Rather, Jesus came to give teachings and to remind us that we have that divine potential within us. Keeping in mind, one of the things he said is, what I do, you can do even better. Isn't that beautiful? What I do, you can do even better. It's a way to remind us. And he was very clear. It's like, this isn't about me. Keep in mind the hemorrhaging woman who touched him, touched his cloak, and he said, daughter, your faith has healed you. That, daughter, your faith has healed you, has gotten me through so many hard times in my life and illness, because it reminds me that it's my faith, and faith meaning my faith and my practice. That's what will heal me, right? Because that is already indwelling us. So we continue this, and y'all know I like to review where we've been. I want to review that what we're really doing is committing ourselves to knowing our divine power and choosing to live from it. That's what this series is about, is to know that it's within you already. It's always been within you, and we're here to awaken it and practice it. So on the very first Sunday, we said, I believe in my divinity. Do y'all remember that? That was your affirmation. I believe in my divinity. The second affirmation you said is, I will see something wonderful happen in my life. Remember that? I will see something wonderful happen in my life. And I told y'all as I sat with that, I was like, I'm going to win the lotto, right? Because that's what we think. Something wonderful. It's going to be something on the outside to us, right? But when you do the practice, what it is like, I'm living from this inside outward. And when I live from this inside of knowing that it's already good and it's already God, then what I see is what? Already good and already God, right? And even if whatever it is, it hurts and it's painful and it doesn't matter, then you can still see, but there's good that's going to be brought here. I've sat with so many people in pain who say, I know that I have to go through this pain because guess what? There's something wonderful it's going to bring, right? So that's what that affirmation was. And Reverend Vita, thank you so much, who spoke up here last week. I always am, yes, exactly. Exactly. My mentor, my friend, so grateful for you, grateful for what you said, and I was given so much peace. And she reminded us that the Sermon on the Mount isn't just dogma or a doctrine, right? It is something to live into. It is something to be. Y'all remember that part, right? It's to be. So now y'all are all caught up. Today is chapters, I told you this morning, Shannon, I said 8 and 9, didn't I? I said 7 and 8. Okay, thank you so much. All righty. Thank you. She's a teacher. She remembers. That's what they do, right? So what I want to, let me also say is that and I know that Avita said this, is that, I will say this, hold on, that it's a practice, it's a way of being. And what Butterworth says is so often we are only living from our human selves. We're only living from our human selves. And there's this potential in the divine that we can live from. Isn't that beautiful? We're only living from that human self. When we think about the human self, and I'm not making it wrong, but it can be limited, correct? Yes. It can be limited. And there's this whole other way, the divine potential. And we have to engage it through practices, right? We have to engage it. So one of the practices that we always do, and every Sunday we do, is affirmations. Every statement I give you guys is an affirmation to take with you guys. So if our practice is to remember our divine power within us, we can say, I'm a radiating center of divine light, right? I'm a radiating center of divine light. And that leads me to today's affirmation, which y'all probably know is inspired by Jesus, Eric Butterworth, and Neil Diamond. And that is, I know, good pair, right? A good pair. I turn on my heart light. How does that feel? Just put your hand on your heart. I turn on my heart light. Because we are a radiating center of divine light, we turn on our heart light for everyone to see. That's what Neil Diamond said. We turn on our heart light for everyone to see. And in that practice, you're moving from the limitation of the human self into the divine, right? The divine potential. So we have two things we're going to talk about this morning. One is the law of non-resistance, and the other one is prayer. So because what Butterworth says is that one of the ways to find this power, this potential, is in non-resistance. Y'all have heard about non-resistance, right? The law of non-resistance. So basically, the law of non-resistance is the idea of not resisting what's showing up in your life, right? Not resisting. I'm really good at resisting what shows up in my life. I'm good at arguing with it. It's like anytime you want reality to look different than what it is, what are you doing? You're resisting, and when you resist, you're going to suffer. Wow. So he's saying that Jesus was amazing at this law of non-resistance, but he teaches us the law of non-resistance through Abraham Lincoln. He starts off with talking about Abraham Lincoln. And he says that Abraham Lincoln also knew how to do this. And there's a story he says, and it's in, chapter 8. Law of non-resistance. It says, Abraham Lincoln was asked why, because he had a cabinet member on when he was president, right, which was forever ago. And that cabinet maker was just always opposed him. And so someone said, why is that okay with you? You know, why is that? And he said, some years ago, I was passing a field where a farmer was trying to plow with a very old and decrepit horse. I noticed on the flank of the animal a big horsefly, and I was about to brush it off when the farmer said, don't you bother that fly, Abe. If it wasn't for that fly, this old hoss wouldn't move an inch. Do you understand the teaching? Do you get it? What he's saying is that difficult people that he had to work with were providing the challenges that kept him digging in himself for greater strength. You get that? Those hard people are in your life for a reason. Right? The hard situations are in your life for a reason. If you're just comfortable all the time, guess what? You're not going to grow. So that's why my calling, as you know, is, and I have to remind myself of this, my calling is to be the love I want to be, I want to see, right? And it's also to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comforted, right? So if you leave here feeling uncomfortable, I have done my job, because I'm not here to make you happy, right? I'm the horsefly. Thank you. I'm the horsefly, and I'm okay with it. I'm here to help us grow. And y'all know I do the practice too. It's me as well. So that is the non-resistance. And what he says is that Jesus absolutely knew this. And the whatever it is, it can be the thorn on your side, right? That's another way of thinking about it, thorn on your side. And think about it, like even now, think about, is there a thorn on your side? And are you feeling resistant to it? What is it? What are you saying to the thorn on your side? Pema Chodron, the Buddhist monk, says, we greet whatever comes to our door with open arms. Wow, that's a big one, right? Imagine greeting me always with open arms. That's the practice. And so he says that what Jesus said was, remember this, and if thy right eye causeth thee to stumble, pluck it out and cast it from thee. If thy right eye causeth thee to stumble, pluck it out and cast it from thee. And he says he was a genius at metaphor. And there's historical reasons why he said that, but the idea is that if you're seeing something and it's really bothering you, perhaps you're probably seeing it wrong, if that makes sense. You're not seeing it through God's eyes. The idea is you take it out so you can see it through God's eyes. And it's not saying like, sometimes you're angry. It's not saying don't be angry. Let yourself feel the anger, but don't live or react from that. Does that make sense? Deal with that however you need to. Take it out and then come with God's eyes. God's consciousness, really. Isn't that beautiful? That's the idea. So it's not saying, I'm going to deny it, I'm not going to feel it. It's like, no, do that, but here, stay with God's eyes. So, as I look at this, I think, what stands in my way? What is it? For me, judgment, self-righteousness, blame, whatever those error beliefs are. Whatever it is that isn't of God, coming back to God. So the old Hebrew law, remember, was an eye for an eye. Remember that? That's an old Hebrew law, and that was designed to maintain order for a barbaric people. An eye for an eye, designed to maintain order for a barbaric people. Are we seeing that now, right here and now? We are. So what can we choose to do? Turn to Jesus, this idea, and if thy right eye causeth thee to stumble, pluck it out and cast it from thee, right? Because we are an Easter people, right? We're people that believe in and practice Jesus. So it can be a bitter pill to swallow, but it's the only road to freedom. That's exactly what he says. So Eric Butterworth says on page 97, if y'all are following along, turn to the other side of your nature. You're both human and divine. There is that in you that can never be hurt, that is always poised and peaceful, that knows your spiritual unity with God and knows that no one can take your good from you. This diviner state of consciousness, the hurt is healed, the influence of the other person on you is nullified, and you become a healing influence upon him. In other words, we choose to turn on our heart light, right? We choose to turn to our divine nature. How does that feel? It feels good, doesn't it? Okay, so now we're looking at prayer. And he calls this chapter the forgotten art of prayer. And he says that Jesus brought a new technique, a new way of praying to the world. And in that, well, for one, he expanded the idea of God, right? And for the Hebrews, God was a capricious God, that may give you something or may give you something or may punish you depending on what you did. And for Jesus, God was expansive. God was Abba. God was nurturing, right? He was the nurturing Father. And so for Jesus, it wasn't this beseeching a God outside of you. That isn't what it is. And so Eric Butterworth talks about, he says, prayer is not something we do to God, but to ourselves. It is not a position, but a disposition. It is not flattery, but a sense of oneness. It is not asking, but knowing. It is not words, but feeling. It is not will, but willingness. In other words, it expands our notion of God, expands our divine potential. The other way that Jesus prayed was affirmatively, and that's what we believe. We believe to pray affirmatively. If we want success, we say we already have that and imagine that success consciousness that whatever it is coming for us. If we want peace, we have to be that peace and say that we're that peace and stand in that peace, right? We have to affirm it and let the spirit of peace permeate your mind and heart. Butterworth writes, prayer is not a way to turn on the light in God, but to turn on the light in you. And God is that life. Again, I turn on my heart light. As y'all know, he was a master of affirmations. Keep in mind the spiritual gospel, the Gospel of John, I am the bread, right? I am the way, the truth, and the life. That is my absolutely favorite one. I am the resurrection. He claims that for himself. That is what affirmative prayer is. We claim that unity right here, right now, within us. So in each of his statements, he claims his unity with the infinite, affirming the truth for himself and about himself. Isn't that beautiful? He affirmed it for himself and about himself. So I want to end where Thomas began, which I had no idea he was doing that. I told him I wanted what he said to be a surprise, and I guess great minds think alike, because I'm very modest, because I'm also inspired by Dame Jane Goodall, and you did a great job of telling us what she actually said. She made her transition this past week, and she did exactly what you said, Thomas, discovered that animals, chimpanzees, use tools like humans, showed emotions like humans, and could be aggressive like humans. It is for this reason that chimpanzees were not her favorite animal. Guess what her favorite animal was? Dog. Why do you think? Exactly. Thank you very much. Awesome. Their capacity for unconditional love. Wow. That's what the dog is, right? Their capacity for unconditional love. So I just want to leave a couple of the quotes. The reason that I'm featuring her is exactly what you said, is hope is not wishful thinking. Hope is something that we have to work on, right? Something we work towards. And my hope is that's what we're doing here, right? And then I believe that her words also, or what we believe in unity, is that we live a life of self-responsibility. That's what this path is. Self-responsibility. Isn't it pointing the finger at anyone else but ourselves? That's what it is. It's making a difference from that self-responsibility. So here's some of the quotes she said. You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. We have the choice to use the gift of our life to make the world a better place or not to bother. Every individual matters. Every individual has a role to play. Every individual makes a difference. And then the last quote I want to share. We have so far to go to realize our human potential for compassion, altruism, and love. We have so far to go to realize our human potential for compassion, altruism, and love. That's big, right? But I know that that's what we're doing here, right? That's the work that we are doing right here, right now. I see it every day in every single one of you guys. I see the ways that all of us together are growing and transforming. With that, please come to Deeper Dive. I have books for you. If you don't have a book, I'll give you a book so you can read. Join us. We're going to talk about non-resistance, some of the things that I've been resisting, and then we're going to talk about prayer. So know that I love you guys so much and so grateful for y'all.